to Metal Rules TV, where the underground meets the playground. I'm Jeff Rappaport.
I'm Brian Biley.
I'm Sonny Zacchio.
I'm Lauren Savadov.
BB.
You guys are from Power Theory.
Yes.
Power Theory.
So now, I was reading about your history a little bit. Now, it seems like Power Theory really is your baby. You're the one that started it, right? You got it going.
Yeah, definitely. It started out as something else with some other guys, more like maybe like a hard rock kind of UFO-y kind of influence thing, because that's part of my earlier influence. But I really wanted to play more like a classic metal or a true metal style. So they were calling it 80s music. We don't play 80s music, and I'm like, all right, fine, your stuff sounds 80s. I'm like, okay, whatever, it's what I like, and it split up, and the bass player came with me, and then I formed Power Theory, and everything happened after that.
So I mean, you're an older guy. It's like I'm not saying older.
Yeah, I'm like 40, Sonny's age,
Yeah. But I'm saying, were you like you were into music? You're old too.
Yes, I Sonny.
You were into like before there was metal, there was like you were like into rock and stuff.
Yeah, like heavy blues rock. Like some of my influences on the guitar, like were definitely Ted Nugent, and a lot of people don't like him right now. But
I love
I'm talking about the playing style.
He's the one that got me into this kind of
Richie
music.
Blackmore, definitely Page. Michael Schenker, Scorpions, that type of stuff. And then kind of all constantly transition. Before that, it would be like definitely heavy blues rock, Foghat, stuff like that, and it's all part of growing up. And and the heavier the music got, and started finding out more and reading the magazines and the music papers and stuff like that. And
back when you had to go and just look at magazines or like look at album covers because there wasn't any like other way to do it.
Yeah, I saw like the hit paraders and stuff, and they always had the black and white new music section. I found out about so many bands in there. I found out about Man of War in there. I found out about Accept in there. Just before Restless and Wild was coming out, they did a little 3x3 thing with a little picture. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. These guys got flying V's. Kicks was always in there too.
Was the East Coast
Kicks
Rocker out then?
Kicks.
East Coast Rocker out then? East Coast Rocker, remember that?
I don't.
Magazine.
Rock Scene and Circus.
Yeah, the Circus, Rock Scene, Hit Parader. I don't remember East Coast Rocker. I think that might have come after.
Okay.
And
I was all about the Metal Forces. Metal Forces Museum.
In Kerrang when that first started getting popular.
And then that's probably well, I don't even want to say that. It was probably 1983 maybe. So, but it just, things were really happening at that time, and to grow up and be a part of it, sure, I lived through it too. It was kind of a good thing, what I mean? And some of the guys coming up, that are trying to play this music, didn't have that, and now they're going back to it. They might have, grew up in the grunge era,
right.
Come on now.
I grew up in the grunge era, but I never liked it.
It's just horrible. It's just, it never took place in Europe. It never happened there. It just never happened there. So it never caught hold. So I don't know how some people that are like that can say anything bad about anything coming from an era behind that. That's
When you were watching that unfold, you go back now and you look at the transition of music, like when it hit the tail of the 70s. Right now, if you go back and you look at music, history, and you look at 79 and 80, 81, 82, how things started changing. Did you realize it at the time? Did you see the influx of new bands and because
it was
beginning
exciting.
of the 80s, the singers started getting higher and higher and higher, and everybody started getting more talented upon talented. Talent prevailed there for a while.
It kind of went from blues, kind of heavy to then the early metal was also kind of had a progressive background to it. If you look at some of the earlier Priest and even Rush, 2112, Farewell to Kings. I mean, that was really good stuff.
Right.
And then these bands coming up took some of that, added a lot of energy to the blues, maybe a little bit of splash of the punk scene that was going on because some guys might have crossed over. There are a lot of guys that jump on any bandwagon that's coming out rather than staying true to what you really want to play.
Sure, what was going to sell, whatever.
But it was really exciting to see it kind of unfold, and even Priest transition from that, more of a kind of a progressive, bluesy kind of whatever, into, you know, just the straight ahead stuff that really had a lot of dynamics and the changes, and you know, it's just
Also watching them play the smaller places, like
Yeah,
they
and-
play Tower Theater and stuff.
yeah, been there, saw him with Maiden there, and
Yeah.
and you know, and it was a natural transition from bands like Thin Lizzy, which were getting heavier too, which
Yeah.
played a lot of like, you know, jazzy, rocky, bluesy, folk music, which with great guitar that I loved. And then it would go, they started getting heavier, and then the younger guys coming up that are influenced by them are coming out Maiden, they're playing the same style with twin guitar harmonies, you know, dual leads, but it's just getting a little heavier. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
sure,
So,
sure.
along the
But you
way.
can see that though.
Yeah, I mean, well, look what happened with Sabbath. It was like, I was a huge fan of Ronnie James Dio. I was a huge fan of Deep Purple, Richie Blackmore, Rainbow. You know, that whole thing happened. They got together. And then, for what it's worth, he wound up with Sabbath. And I know people, if I'm going to say this, are probably going to hate me right now, but I think they really got good as a band when Dio got in the band.
That's what I always say that. I say that all the time. I like Dio Sabbath 1,000 times more than Ozzy Sabbath.
It's another planet.
Ozzy Sabbath, and Ozzy Sabbath is good, but it's more like a kind of a
Hippie-ish.
yeah, bluesy
Yes.
hippie-ish thing.
Yeah.
And
Songs
as
go on and
I was
on.
kind
Right,
of growing out of that,
Right.
when Dio came out, it became like, you know, almost like more of a, they matured, like it was a more,
Yes.
more mature sound,
It's more
mature
musical.
It was more
subject
traditional
matter,
too, actually.
you know,
The
more
sound,
like
yeah.
mysticism in the music, so that was all happening then too. He carried that right off of what he was doing with Rainbow in there.
And it's not the exact same genre, but it's I think the same argument when you look at like Van Halen and David Lee Roth was more of a party band, cover band to do. And when Hagar brought, I think he raised the whole bar of musicianship.
Absolutely.
Because Hagar could play guitar and Hagar could sing. So they were like, oh, well, we can start writing music now that actually has hooks and lines. You know what I mean? Like Van Halen has hooks.
I still like David Lee Roth. It's way better.
You can't compare the two. I don't think it's a completely different
It's
band.
like a vaudeville act compared to a musician.
Right.
Not when you saw Van Halen back in the day, though. That was.
But I'm just saying, it's two different bands. It's two
It
different,
is.
like the Sabbath. I mean,
But I was never really a fan of them, period. Although I was a Sammy Hagar fan. I love Montrose. I love Sammy solo stuff. I liked what he did with them. But I was never really a fan of them. I mean, okay, like the guy was a guitar virtuoso. He changed a lot of things and everything. But there was guys playing what he was playing years before him with hammer-ons and tap-ons that didn't get any of the credit for it. Like Steve Hackett from Genesis. Even Glenn Tipton from Judas Priest was playing that kind of style of music.
Yeah.
And he just was basically a piano player playing it on a guitar with a neck like this.
Yeah.
Very good at what he did.
Sure.
Changed the music, you know, it really revolutionized it, but I was never really a fan of that. To me, it was like too happy. It was like, you know, like Beach Boys, like with, you know, like heavy
that's what it was. It's
but
exactly
see,
what
I
it was.
ain't into that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, that's
Yeah.
not heavy metal to me. They should never be classified as
Well, I
that.
don't think
They're hard rock, but
They're
people,
more like hard rock.
They-
people put them in that, and to me, it's not.
Yeah, it's
It's
arena-
too happy, you
arena
know.
rock.
It's too leopard
Arena rock.
skin, and
Back
you
in the
know,
late
and
70s.
Arena
early
rock.
80s.
my makeup okay, and
So
you know.
actually, I actually had a question for you. That you said, what makes a band metal? Like, there's so many. Cause, you know,
That's a good
the
question.
evolution of metal. They have like, you know, different genres, and they try to put grunge in there, and they put like the new metal and all this that, and hair metal and all different bands. So where does it draw the line? How does a band become metal?
Number one, you can't just say you are. You know, like it's.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll
You
tell
have to
you.
walk the walk and. Or,
Yeah. You have to back it up. You got to, you know, you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. It's something that's inside you. It is definitely a lifestyle. It's
Right.
you know, and you know, maybe people think I'm still acting like I'm 15 years old, but you know, that's the way it's going to be. Take it or leave it. You know, I'm not
But,
changing.
you know
I
what's-
may be a dinosaur. I may be this and
It's
that.
good to be a dinosaur because back in the 80s, the first question when I was trying out for bands was, how old are you? And if you were older than 25, you would hear the dial tone. Now, when you're starting a metal band, it's like if the older you are, it almost seems the better because people are looking for a seasoned player or somebody that's been around. And if you know everything from 80 to 86 and got to watch the transition and the beginning of thrash and all that stuff, it makes it even more, you know, credible
Right.
to be in a band. But back in the 80s, when
But
I
it's-
kept on starting over and trying out for bands, if I said I was 28, they would be like, click. God forbid when I turned 30, it was like, but now it's like age doesn't matter. It's like the way you look at jazz. You know, a lot of people thought, oh, you're just not going to play metal anymore once you turn in your 30s, but
Right.
When you look at jazz, you're a musician. Once you're a musician, it just stays in you.
Sure.
You don't just stop. So since metal was so young back in the 80s, no one, I didn't ever look at 2000, but it's just, once you're a metalhead, you're always metal.
Yeah,
you just
it's
don't
there.
stop playing.
I'm going to stop here and we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll come back.